YouTube, what is up? We are back. It is draft week. We finally have a little something to talk about during the brutal offseason where there's literally nothing going on. As you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, is Shadeur Sanders going to even get drafted day one? That is going to be a big topic of this video, but we have a lot to talk about. Not just that. Is Shadeur Sanders going to even get drafted on day one? We're obviously going to get into that. We have a lot of other things to talk about as well, not just that. We will try to look at all the teams that possibly need a quarterback and which ones we think actually might take one, and which ones might pass. A lot of speculation going on with certain teams. We'll look at, a non-quarterback I've been seeing a lot of chatter about, Ashton Jeanty. I've been seeing a lot of clips go around saying the Raiders are going to draft him at 6. I will tell you why I think that would be a massive mistake for the Raiders, and I will lose all sense of hope, if hope's the right word, but all sense of hope that they know what they're doing if they draft Ashton Jeanty. Couldn't be a dumber move in my opinion. But let's get into the video. So guys, obviously my little prediction here is that I will not be shocked if Shadeur Sanders falls past day one. I won't be surprised if he doesn't even show up to draft day on day one because he doesn't want to be embarrassed. I can see him not wanting to be a meme. That's the era we're in now. That's the kind of stuff they're thinking about. I will not be surprised if things go that way. And I know probably the odds and everything. Look, I'm not betting on where people are getting drafted. This is just fun conversation. If you're actually betting on this shit, I don't know. Maybe call the number. I'll bet when there's actual games going on that we have data on. And I guess I should say, for those of you that are new to the channel, seeing this for the first time, this is primarily a betting channel. That's what I did really well with last year. That's what we do on this channel. Is we give out picks and we win a lot more than we lose. We went 63% last year. Good luck finding other channels that are going to hit at that rate. So look, am I a nobody? Yeah. I'm not Joe Burrow's dad here starting a podcast or something. But really, I think the fact that we were able to win at such a high rate does give us some credibility and a unique insight that we do see things in a pretty accurate light. Anyways, enough of that. Let's get back into the video. So look, a couple months ago, I think you look at this draft board and say, oh, there's so many teams that need a quarterback. Shedeur is just going to, by default, go to one of these teams because there's going to be at least one low IQ team out there that takes him. And yes, I'm saying low IQ because I'm not high on Shadeur Sanders. I watched him enough at Colorado. I think his ceiling is a poor man Geno Smith. He's pretty low IQ. He holds the ball way too long. Arm talent is whatever. I just don't get it. I don't see what is special at all about this guy. Aside from the last name Sanders, I don't get it. I really, I wouldn't draft him. I could not care less about drafting him if I was the GM. So if this ages poorly, so be it. Like I always say, I'm not betting on it. I could care less. But I just don't see it happening. So a couple months ago, we had teams like the Giants. We had teams like the Raiders, the Jets, the Colts. We had a bunch of these teams that needed quarterbacks. The Raiders get Geno Smith, massive upgrade, way better than Shadeur Sanders. He's like similar prototype to Shedeur if Shedeur was actually good. That's how I look at Geno. Colts, I don't know what the fuck the Colts are doing, man. Daniel Jones is horrific. So now they got him to go with Anthony Richardson. It seems like they're done at quarterback. I don't think they're drafting one. I think that Daniel Jones signing was their quarterback move, but I don't know, man. I think the Colts are done at quarterback for this offseason. And then the Giants signed a whole bunch of mediocrity. Jameis Winston, as bad as it gets at the quarterback position. He'll make the team laugh. Good feels good, rah-rah guy. For every touchdown he throws, he's going to throw 7 pick sixes the opposite direction. So he's horrible. Whatever. They gave him like $4 million a year, so they know he's bad. Everybody else knows he's bad if that's the market for him. And then Russell Wilson, he got a decent little contract, nothing crazy, but enough to show that he's going to be the starter. So I think they're done at quarterback. Russ is going to be their guy there. And the Jets, I've talked about this in other videos. I really like Justin Fields signings. Not a crazy expensive contract, and coming off his best seasons, still young, a lot of upside, athletic freak. I think there's some upside there. I do like Justin Fields signing for the Jets, so they should be done at quarterback as well, at least for now. If Justin Fields sucks this year, maybe next year, then they'll be like, all right, can't do this anymore. Then draft a quarterback. I don't see it happening this year, though. So just right there, that's 4 teams off the board that possibly one of them would have made a mistake and drafted Shedeur. So those are off the board probably. So now Shadeur's options of where he can be drafted to gets very, very limited. And that leaves 4 teams available. So let's just say 4 teams. 2 teams are probably high likeliness for a quarterback, and the other 2 are kind of question marks. The Titans, I would think most people are perceiving the Titans as a high probability for sure drafting Cam Ward. I'm just throwing them in here in case of wild card they draft Shedeur, but I actually have a weird hunch on the Titans that I haven't seen anybody else say. I'll get to that in a second though. So Titans are a possibility. The Browns, let's say the Titans draft Cam Ward at 1. Do the Browns take Shedeur at 2? The Browns are notorious for making absolutely horrific decisions, especially recently at the quarterback position, Deshaun Watson. So maybe they waste their number 2 pick on a bad prospect like Shedeur. There you go. Then we kind of go to these wild card teams. We have the Saints picking at 9. Derek Carr, there's reports coming out that he's having some pretty major injuries. I don't even know what his status is going to be. Is he going to need surgery? Is he going to be available? It seems pretty muddy with what's going on there. I've heard that they like Desmond Ridder. I don't think he showed enough last year to love him. So I don't know if they're just going to stick with Desmond Ridder, if Derek Carr is going to be okay. There's a lot of question marks there. Let's say they don't like Desmond Ridder and Derek Carr is, he's not going to play this year. I don't know if that's true or not. Then they would probably draft the quarterback if that was the case. But I don't know that's what they're thinking. And if they did, yeah, I think it's a good chance I think it's a great chance Shedeur would be there if they wanted him. But I'm also skeptical that these teams even want Shedeur. I'm very skeptical. I think it's a lot of media and non-GMs that are pushing this Shadeur Sanders getting drafted high narrative. I'm not necessarily sure that GMs that are actually watching film want this guy. I'd be surprised. And also, you got to know when you draft him, you're drafting on a ton more eyeballs for criticism because it's a Sanders. So, and look, none of this is personal. It's just I wasn't impressed with this play. And then the last wild card we have is at the 21 spot. We got Pittsburgh Steelers. It's an interesting spot for the Steelers, man, because I know Tomlin said, "Oh, we're good if Mason Rudolph's our starting quarterback." I really don't believe that for a second. If it is, nothing would surprise me with low IQ Tomlin. I talk about him in every video. The lowest IQ coach in the NFL by a mile. The guy, if you haven't seen my other videos, look, he still punts the ball on 4th and 1 against Lamar Jackson when they're down double-digit scores. The guy doesn't understand how to, catch up with trends and current times and smart decision-making. He just doesn't, so I'm going to keep criticizing him until he figures it out. And it's not, he drives me crazy more so because everybody, it's not just because he drives me crazy. It's because the media and so many people are like, "Oh, Tomlin's one of the best coaches ever." Like, you hear these narratives all the time. Never had a losing season. Who cares? The guy hasn't, when's the last time he's won a playoff game? He's horrible. Anyways, my point is I wouldn't be surprised if that low IQ team decided to draft Shedeur. But Aaron Rodgers, where's Aaron Rodgers at in this whole thing? He's lurking in the background somewhere. It's, based on his comments on McAfee, that would probably be the favorite of where he's going to go. So there's a chance they don't need a quarterback and they're just waiting on Aaron Rodgers to decide, okay, time for football and sign the papers. But, again, I'm not in those buildings. I don't know. I think at that spot, there's also a chance that if they have inside info that, Rodgers isn't going to sign or play this year or whatever the case is, maybe they don't even like Shedeur. Maybe they get a guy like Jalen Milroe, who's an athletic freak. Maybe a Will Howard, who, call me a sucker, but after watching the Will Howard episode with John Gruden, I'm all in on Will Howard. I did really like him in the college football playoff. I guess the narrative was in my head for a while that he's playing on such a loaded roster that he's not that good. It's just the rosters that he's on. The weapons are so crazy. But I'm kind of starting to turn the page on that and say because I do remember seeing him make a lot of big-time plays and good decisions. And he's actually a lot more mobile than I initially thought. So I think he's a sleeper for somebody who could actually be decent. I'd like to see him get a chance. So I wouldn't be mad if I'd be pleasantly surprised if Tomlin took Will Howard. And Jalen Milroe, I mean, I don't know. Is he just another Anthony Richardson? Like I think he's got a ton of talent. I just don't have a lot of faith in his brain. We've seen how fast he can run. We've seen how far he could throw the ball, but how consistently, like literally, like just like Anthony Richardson, how consistently can he throw an open slant, read a coverage, make a quick play, like whatever it is? I don't know how high my confidence would be there with him. But here is my crazy bold prediction that I have this hunch with the Tennessee Titans. I don't know if they're going to trade down or if they're just going to select with the first pick. I'm not sure on that. But I have a hunch that they are going to stick with Will Levis for at least another year. I could be dead wrong on this. I just have a hunch that the Callahans, I don't know. I like the Callahan coach on Tennessee. I like how he ripped Levis, he seems like an old school coach, and his pops is a big O-line legendary coach. So I do like what they're building in Tennessee. From obviously just having Callahans there. And I have a feeling, I think these coaches kind of get attached to these quarterbacks, at least early on. Like you saw with Brian Daboll with Daniel Jones. Like Daniel Jones is shitty. We can see it from the outside, but he's there working with him every day. And I think he wants to see him do well. They want to believe in him, and I think they end up doing that. And I think it ends up costing them in the long run. With Callahan, will it cost him here? I don't know, because I don't think it's not like we have a Joe Burrow in this draft where it's round one, first pick in the draft, clear as day. Joe Burrow is the best prospect, 5-star, blue chipper, NFL, first round overall pick. We don't have that. I don't think we have that with Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward has a good amount of risk to him. I'm not saying I like or dislike Cam Ward, but he doesn't get me excited to draft number 1 overall. Like if that's the best we got at number 1, I would probably just trade down. That's me personally. I would want a guy in a much higher tier, like a Burrow, like a Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix. I loved Michael Penix last year. I said last year the Giants fucked up big time by drafting Malik Neighbors. They could have had Penix and already had their quarterback. These teams are so dumb and they get attached. So I can't even go too hard on Tennessee like I did the Giants last year, because I'm not saying there's a guy like Penix or like Jaden Daniels where I'm like, you got to draft this guy. So we'll see. I have a feeling Callahan's going to give Levis another year. I haven't seen anyone else with this take, but this is just kind of where my instincts are leading me. So I think Tennessee is either going to draft Travis Hunter with the first overall pick, just get a freak on their team, a non-quarterback position, or I think they trade down to maybe somewhere between 5 and 8, stash away another pick for either this year, next year, whatever they do, and draft one of those guys. Whether it's a Will Campbell or a Will Johnson. I don't think you can go wrong either way. I think those are two good prospects that are probably going to be a staple on your team for the majority and really the prime of their careers. I think those two guys are pretty safe prospects to take with a solid first overall pick. So I do think the Titans are going to stick with Will Levis for at least another year. I know everyone probably going to think I'm crazy for saying that, but just this pattern I've seen and a hunch I have that it's not worth using the number 1 overall pick, which is such a hard thing to get on Cam Ward, I don't think he's a sure thing like a Joe Burrow. And lastly, guys, moving away from the quarterback position here, I want to talk about Ashton Jeanty and the Raiders for a second, because I've been seeing a lot of buzz about this, and I think the biggest mistake the Raiders can make is drafting Ashton Jeanty at 6. It's so hard to get a draft pick this high, and to blow it on a running back would be such a mistake in my opinion. In my opinion, running back is one of the most replaceable positions, and it's really the effect. When you have a cause and effect, the running back is the effect. I did a tweet about this earlier this week. Go follow me there at Karras Football or Nick Karras Football. I always forget what it is, but you'll find it if you care. But basically, The O-line is what creates the running back stats. It's not the other way around. The running backs don't make the O-lines look good. It's the O-lines that make the running backs look good. Look at, take Saquon Barkley, for example. When he was a New York Giant, yes, we can tell by the eye test that he was really good, but how much impact did it make on the team? Not much at all. They were horrible. They were terrible. So bad that they cut bait with him because they didn't even see the value in him. And he goes to Philly, they won a Super Bowl, and everyone's like, oh, it's because Saquon Barkley. Philly made it to the Super Bowl 2 years prior without Saquon Barkley, and they really outplayed the Chiefs in that game. They should have won that game. So it wasn't like the Eagles were that far off from being a Super Bowl team. It's very different than the public perception. To give you more evidence for this point, take the Eagles, their Super Bowl year. They had Miles Sanders, who had a really nice year, right? Really nice year, and then the public market said, oh, this team just made it to the Super Bowl. Miles Sanders, pretty good running back, had a great year. Goes to the Panthers, and then what? We never hear from him again. My point is, the cause of this thing is Philly's O-line. Philly's O-line coach is a beast. You combine those two things together, and you have a system where running backs are going to thrive. You can't just throw these guys into horrible situations and expect them to ball out. So I think if the Raiders draft Jeanty and he has no O-line to run behind, it's pointless. Even at 6, I'd rather you draft a running back in round 3 or later. It's one of those positions that if the O-line is good, they're going to play. Typically, they're going to play good. That's typically the pattern with good running back stats, is unbelievable O-line play. So to conclude, I think the Raiders, man, they need to draft a very important position, whether it's O-line or corner. I think best case scenario, you grab Will Campbell from LSU, get an actual baller on that line, man. Enough of these second, third round garbage O-linemen. Get a real O-lineman, get Will Campbell. If you get unlucky and he's not there at 6, get Will Johnson. Now you have a good cornerback, man. You can't fuck around with these stupid positions. I get it. Running back's flashy, it's sexy. They get in the end zone, they score. The perception gets overhyped. Last year was a good running back year. The perception is too high. You have to get a real position that moves the needle. You got to go O-line. If you can't, Will Campbell's not there. You could get the arguably the best corner in the draft, aside from Travis Hunter and Will Johnson. So Raiders, don't fuck this up. I think there's a good chance they do, but who knows? I mean, since Brady's been there, Pete Carroll, I do like a lot of the acquisitions they made. I think they're a lot better already. I think they're a 50-50 kind of, win percentage team now instead of whatever, 25%. So they've already made a big stride in my opinion, but they have to get this one right. Do not draft Ashton Jeanty. It's nothing against him. I just don't think the O-line there is going to be able to move the needle for him to have success. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sure anyone that's a fan of Shedeur is going to hate this video, is going to hate me. It is what it is. I'm just going to give my honest opinion. I could always be wrong on this stuff, man. It's just content, man. I like to bet on games, and it's the off season, so this is the best we can do for content. Is just talk about whatever's going on, man. But I look forward to when we could actually bet on games, and that's my bread and butter, man. So that's it, guys. Please leave a like, subscribe to the video. It's so hard to grow on YouTube, man. So just, if you made it this far, man, you may as well like it and subscribe it. And we'll see what happens draft day. Maybe I was dead on accurate, or maybe I eat shit and I was dead wrong. Either way, I'm not betting on it. That is for degenerates. So if you are betting, good luck, guys. And we'll talk again, probably post-draft or whatever else. Maybe Aaron Rodgers gets signed. We talk about it. We'll see what the news brings. All right, boys. Have a good one. Peace.